We appreciate Cub for being strong. We appreciate you for being strong, all being strong. But what we really tired of, the Harrises and the Frost going at each other, man. You know what I'm saying? We want that to stop.
It's never in the story, right?
Yeah, I don't never want you to feel like I'm picking no side, man, like that.
Listen, man, I
be wanting people to be in a good space like that.
And it's like we be having events, and it's like we gotta be like, do we invite the Frost or do we invite the Harrises?
Well, no, I did invite Mendeecees to Puerto Rico.
I'm kind of annoyed. If me and Mendeecees not getting along, why invite us to the same exact place? Mendeecees, shouldn't you be trying to mend the problems instead of single ready to mingle type vibe?
Like when it was Mendeecees and they thought it was like they was beating them down, but then when Yandy get caught out there, it's like all the women is just like, girl, he deserved that. He deserved that, girl.
Go ahead.
Like, I don't see no backlash for her on it.
Don't overlook the way she did. The reason why he did that.
So she could get her back blown out and
The reason why he even did what he did because he found out what she. Bro, I'm telling you, I wouldn't do it.
So we all agree we can't win, right? We can't win. We can't.
The tension in Atlanta has been boiling for months, but this episode made one thing crystal clear. Scrappy has reached his breaking point. He's exhausted, frustrated, and no longer willing to carry the weight of other people's mess. From the very first frame, you can feel the heaviness in his voice. He doesn't even have to raise his tone. His body language alone says it all. He's done being the middleman between two families, who refuse to let go of their pride. And when Kirk Frost tried to turn the spotlight onto Mendeecees Harris, that was the final straw. Scrappy didn't just clap back, he snapped, and the room went silent for years. The feud between the Frosts and the Harrises has been the kind of drama VH1 producers live for. Every reunion, every vacation, every group outing somehow turns into a war zone. Rasheeda standing firm by Kirk's side, Yandy defending Mendeecees with everything in her, and somewhere in the middle, Scrappy getting dragged into the chaos whether he likes it or not. At first, he tried to play peacemaker. He wanted both sides to come together, squash the beef, and move forward. But peace doesn't make ratings, and these families thrive on chaos. Every fight pulls him deeper, until he's left carrying baggage that was never his to begin with. In this moment, you could see the pressure of years weighing on him. Scrappy looked around the room like a man who's been screaming into the void, finally realizing no one is listening. He said it plainly, "I don't ever want you to feel like I'm picking sides. I just want people to be in a good space." But it's like every time we plan something, we gotta ask ourselves, do we invite the Frosts or do we invite the Harrises? That line cut deep. It wasn't just about who gets an invitation to Puerto Rico. It was about grown adults turning every event into a battleground, making everyone else feel like collateral damage. Mendeecees tried to make his case, but his words only poured gasoline on the fire. He pointed out how whenever he slips up, the entire room piles on him. But when Yandy makes mistakes, the women circle around her like bodyguards, defending her no matter what. He said it with raw honesty, we can't win. It wasn't just about his marriage. It was about the double standards, the imbalance. The fact that men in this circle get crucified while women get forgiven. Whether you agree with him or not, you couldn't deny the frustration in his voice. And then there's Kirk Frost. If hypocrisy was a sport, Kirk would have a championship ring. This is a man who humiliated Rasheeda on national television with his cheating scandals, his side baby with Jasmine, and years of betrayal. And yet, here he was, pointing fingers at Mendeecees like he's a problem. How can Kirk even open his mouth to call another man out when his own marriage is still limping from the wounds he created? Watching him try to lecture anyone about loyalty or respect was almost laughable. But Rasheeda still stood right there, stone-faced, defending him like always. That loyalty is powerful, but it also makes her look blind to the obvious. While Kirk stirred the pot, young Jock played his usual role of the unintentional troublemaker. He didn't mean harm, but by carrying stories back and forth between the two sides, he only made the situation worse. What started as jokes or casual comments turned into he said. She said whispers that fueled more arguments, and every time Jock passed information, it was Scrappy who got stuck in the crossfire. Forced to explain himself to people who were already on edge, this was the boiling point. Scrappy's patience finally snapped. You could see the exhaustion etched across his face. He leaned back, shaking his head, his voice low but sharp. "I'd be tired, man. I'm tired of this. Y'all keep dragging this out like it's never gonna end," we groaned. "Handle y'all problems without putting me in it." The room froze. No one expected him to check Kirk like that. Not with cameras rolling, not with Rasheeda right there. But Scrappy didn't flinch. He said what everyone else has been too scared to admit, this feud isn't just tired, it's toxic. And here's the thing, Scrappy wasn't yelling. He wasn't throwing chairs or storming out. His power wasn't his calmness. That calm was scarier than any scream. Because when a man like Scrappy, who's been through fights, betrayals, divorces, and public scandals, finally says he's done, you know it's real. You know he's reached a line he won't cross again. The irony of it all? While Scrappy was bearing his truth, the same people he was calling out barely blinked. Kirk shifted blame like he always does. Rasheeda held her silence, unwilling to admit her husband was wrong. Mendeecees sat defensive, ready to justify himself again. Yandy clutched her pride like a shield, waiting for the next strike. Everyone was so caught up in protecting their own image, their own side, that they missed the bigger picture. Scrappy was the mirror showing them how ridiculous this endless feud looks to the world. The cameras caught every second of it. The sighs, the silence, the heavy tension no one dared to break. And for once, it wasn't about who cheated, who lied, or who showed up to whose event. It was about Scrappy refusing to play the fool any longer. His words hung in the air like smoke after a fire. This beef is tired. Handle yourselves before you come at anybody else. But the question now is, did anyone actually hear him? Did Kirk process the reality that his own skeletons are louder than his accusations? Did Mendeecees realize his battle with Yandy has turned into a public circus? Did Rasheeda and Yandy notice that their loyalty might be feeling the chaos instead of ending it? Or are they so addicted to the spotlight of this feud that Scrappy's breaking point will just become another storyline for VH1 to exploit? Because the truth is, Scrappy's not bluffing. You could see it in his eyes. This wasn't reality TV acting. This was a man ready to step out of the shadows, even if it means cutting ties with people he once considered family. And if that happens, if Scrappy truly walks away, what happens to the fragile balance between the Frosts and the Harrises? Who carries the dirty laundry then? The room may have gone quiet after Scrappy's outburst, but silence doesn't erase tension. If anything, it made the cracks in the group even more visible. The Frosts sat stiff, the Harrises shifted uncomfortably, and the energy was heavy enough to cut with a knife. But instead of using that moment to reflect, Kirk Frost leaned back with the arrogance of a man who still believes he's untouchable. He tried to play it cool, tried to act like Scrappy's frustration was just another temper tantrum. But the truth was written on his face, his pride was wounded. And a man like Kirk doesn't take kindly to being checked, especially not in front of cameras. Rasheeda stepped in, trying to smooth things over the way she always does. Her voice was calm, but her eyes betrayed her loyalty. She's been standing beside Kirk for years, defending him through scandal after scandal. And now, even when he was clearly being called out for hypocrisy, she couldn't let go. She looked at Scrappy with that don't go too far stare. The kind of look that says, choose your words carefully because this can't be undone. But Scrappy didn't care. He wasn't here to save face for anybody anymore. Mendeecees sat forward, his hands gripping the edge of the table like a man holding back years of resentment. He was tired too, but his tiredness looked different. For him, it wasn't just about the Frosts. It was about the way he and Yandy have been judged since day one. He repeated his point again. When he slips, the world crucifies him. When Yandy slips, people justify it. That bitterness wasn't aimed just at Kirk or Scrappy. It was aimed at the whole dynamic of their circle. Mendeecees felt like a villain no matter what he did, and tonight, he was making it known. Yandy Smith Harris, on the other hand, didn't say much at first. She sat with her chin high, her pride wrapped around her like armor. She's used to the spotlight, used to defending her husband, used to keeping up appearances even when the walls are closing in. But as Scrappy vented, as Mendeecees defended, and as Kirk deflected, you could see Yandy's expression shift. For the first time, it looked like she realized just how exhausted Scrappy was. And maybe, just maybe, she felt a hint of guilt for being part of a cycle that keeps dragging everyone down. But Kirk wasn't done. Instead of taking accountability, he doubled down. He turned the conversation back on Mendeecees, bringing up old wounds, throwing subtle jabs meant to remind everyone of the past. It was classic Kirk when cornered, deflect. Instead of answering for his own actions, he shifts the heat onto someone else. But this time, it didn't land the way he expected. The room didn't rally behind him. The weight of his own history, the cheating, the secret baby, the endless drama with Jasmine, was too heavy to ignore. Young Jock, trying to play peacemaker, chimed in with a half-joke, half-serious comment. But jokes don't heal wounds, they only mask them. His attempt to lighten the mood backfired, pulling out even more bitterness from the group. Jock's role in the drama, carrying conversations, repeating what one person said to the other, came to the forefront. Scrappy's head snapped toward him with frustration, reminding Jock that his messy, he said. She said behavior is part of the reason these feuds keep spinning out of control. Jock laughed it off, but the tension in Scrappy's eyes was no joke. The more they talked, the clearer it became that Scrappy wasn't just venting. He was drawing a line in the sand. He told them straight, "I ain't finna be nobody's messenger no more. Y'all grown. If you got a problem, handle it with each other. Stop putting me in the middle." That line hit like a hammer. For years, Scrappy has been the go-between, the one carrying words from one side to the other. But tonight, he shut the door on that role. And here's what makes it explosive. Scrappy's frustration wasn't just with Kirk, or with Mendeecees, or even with the women. It was with the entire system of how their group functions. Every event, every trip, every party turns into a war because nobody wants to let go of pride. Nobody wants to admit fault. And Scrappy, who just wanted to live his life, kept getting dragged into battles that weren't his. That reality finally broke him, and he wasn't afraid to say it. What's even wilder is a reaction from the rest of the room. Instead of acknowledging the truth in his words, people shifted uncomfortably, side-eyed each other, and waited for someone else to respond. No one wanted to take the blame. No one wanted to admit that Scrappy was right, because admitting that would mean the drama has been unnecessary all along. And unnecessary drama doesn't play well on reality TV. By the end of the night, the energy was thick with unfinished business. Kirk whispered to Rasheeda, Mendeecees whispered to Yandy. Jock made quiet side comments, but Scrappy? He sat back in silence, drained but unbothered. He had said his piece. For once, he wasn't the messenger. He wasn't the middleman. He was a mirror, showing everyone how ugly their chaos looked. But here's the problem when a man like Scrappy refuses to play his role. The balance of the group shifts. Who fills the gap? If Scrappy won't carry the drama anymore, that means the Frosts and the Harrises will have to face each other head-on. And that is dangerous. Because without Scrappy to filter the words to soften the blows, the raw truth will cut deeper than ever before. The episode ended with Scrappy walking away, his words echoing in the background. "I'm done with this. Y'all fix it yourselves." The look on Kirk's face said it all. He wasn't used to being checked, and he didn't like it. Mendeecees looked half validated, half ready for the next round. Yandy stayed poised, but her silence spoke volumes. Rasheeda, loyal as ever, kept her husband's side. Jock cracked another joke to hide his nerves, but the room knew what just happened. Scrappy had dropped a bomb, and now the fallout was inevitable. The only question left is, when the Frosts and the Harrises collide without Scrappy in the middle, who's going to survive the blast? The fallout from Scrappy's declaration didn't fade overnight. If anything, it spread like wildfire through the group, igniting whispers, side conversations, and late-night phone calls that never should have happened. By the next event, you could feel the shift in the air before anyone even walked into the room. Atlanta may be big, but this circle is small and word travels fast. Everyone knew Scrappy had gone off on Kirk Frost, and everyone wanted to see what the aftermath would look like. The first to arrive was Rasheeda, always polished, always composed, but her smile was tighter than usual. She walked in with Kirk, her hand in his, making it clear that no matter what was said, her loyalty wasn't moving. Kirk followed behind her, with the confidence of a man who refuses to admit when he's wrong. He didn't look rattled. He didn't look humbled. If anything, he looked more determined to prove that he still controlled the narrative. That's Kirk's gift and curse. He knows how to stand tall in the storm, but he never admits when he caused the thunder in the first place. Yandy Harris and Mendeecees Harris entered not long after. Yandy's eyes darted across the room, calculating every stare, every whisper, like a woman used to being judged. Mendeecees walked heavy, his jaw set, carrying the weight of a man who's tired of being villainized. They didn't come for drama, but drama had a way of finding them whether they wanted it or not. Tonight would be no different. And then came Scrappy. His energy was different this time, quieter, sharper. He wasn't the man ready to explode. He was a man who already had. His outburst had been his release, and now he was walking into the fire with nothing left to lose. That made him dangerous, because nothing shakes a group dynamic more than someone who refuses to play by the unspoken rules. The moment Kirk saw him, the air shifted. No greetings, no fake hugs, just silence, thick and awkward, broken only by the clinking of glasses and the shuffle of chairs. It was clear neither man was ready to back down. Kirk, with his history and ego, couldn't stomach being checked on camera. Scrappy, with his drained patience, wasn't about to take his words back. They were on opposite sides of the line now, and everyone else was left to figure out where they stood. Jock tried to crack a joke, as usual. He tossed out a line about the tension being so thick you could cut it with a butter knife. Some laughed nervously, others rolled their eyes, but Scrappy didn't move. His eyes stayed locked on Kirk, who smirked like a man playing chess while everyone else thought they were playing checkers. The conversation started light, music, family, business ventures, but it didn't stay that way. Kirk made a slick comment about loyalty, about knowing who your real friends are. It wasn't loud, it wasn't direct, but everyone in that room knew who he was talking about. Scrappy leaned forward, his voice calm but cutting. Loyalty don't mean nothing if you ain't loyal to yourself first. Don't talk to me about loyalty when you ain't handled yours at home. The room froze. Rasheeda's face stiffened, her eyes flashing with warning. Yandy covered her mouth like she was holding back a gasp. Jock muttered under his breath, "Here we go again, in Mendeecees?" He leaned back, almost smirking, like for once someone else was carrying the fight for him. Kirk, red in the face but refusing to break, shot back, "Don't get it twisted, bro. I don't answer to you. I built mine, I kept mine, and I don't need nobody telling me how to run my household." But his voice cracked just enough to show the wound had been hit. Scrappy didn't blink. He had the upper hand now, and he knew it. The back and forth escalated. But it wasn't just words. It was years of tension spilling out. Years of unspoken resentments finally finding a stage. Scrappy wasn't just snapping at Kirk. He was snapping at the whole system that let Kirk's behavior slide for so long. He was the voice of every person in that circle who's been tired of covering, tired of cleaning up, tired of pretending the Frost versus Harris's drama is just entertainment. And yet, even as Scrappy held his ground, you could see the danger brewing. Because when pride gets bruised, men like Kirk don't forgive. They plot, they plan. They find a way to get even, not just with words, but with moves that shift the whole group dynamic. By the end of the night, nothing was resolved. The Frost left first, Kirk whispering sharply to Rasheeda as they walked out, her face stone cold. Yandy and Mendeecees followed, still holding their pride but clearly rattled. Jock lingered, half laughing, half worried, already planning how to spin this in the next conversation. And Scrappy, he stayed seated, calm, collected. But the look in his eyes said everything. He wasn't going back to being the messenger, the middleman, or the peacemaker. But here's a real question. What happens when a man like Scrappy steps back from the battlefield? Does the war finally end? Or does it get bloodier without him in the middle? Because one thing's for sure, the Frosts and the Harrises aren't done with each other. And with Scrappy snapping the way he did, the next collision might just be the one that blows the whole franchise apart.